Let me ask you something. Did you ever go into your kitchen and just mix two complete different ingredients together and then were surprised that the result actually tasted good? Like, I don't know, bacon on a jam sandwich? Well, that is exactly what Polish game developer 11-Bit Studios put into your lunchbox, and the name of that delicious treat, ladies and gentlemen, is Frostpunk. It's a very curious mix between a city building game and a survival game. Frostpunk takes place in a steampunk version of our world in the year 1886. The most prominent technology is steam-based, of course, and what steampunk setting would be complete without a post-apocalyptic setting? An undefined event covered the world in snow and frost. Temperatures are falling rapidly, crops are failing, and because nobody saw it coming, nearly the entire human race got extinguished by famine and cold weather. Yes, winter has truly come, and it is awful. But despite this grim scenario, there are ways to survive. You, as the player, take control of a small group of Londoners who took on an impossible journey and managed to reach a massive heat generator. The good news is, as long as this monstrosity gets enough coal to run, it can produce heat to fight the cold and shelter your people. Hell, with appropriate leadership, it may even be possible to build a flourishing city again. And the bad news is, all they get as a leader is me. And that means I will probably make one or two stupid decisions which will anger my people to the point where they wish me dead. That's not a joke, dying is totally possible. The city has two stats which should be monitored at all times. One is hope, the other one is discontent, which is directed at me. If discontent gets too high or hope too low, they will send me on a very long walk through the wasteland. Probably to give me a chance to think about where exactly I screwed up before I freeze to death, but I won't let it come to that. So, let's begin. I start out with 80 people to work with, it's minus 20 degrees Celsius, that's minus 4 in Fahrenheit, you're welcome America, and no shelter. Also no wood or steel to build stuff, and also no coal to run the generator, for that matter. No, correction, there are piles of resources buried under the snow. And you know what that means? Alright, I need 30 of you to gather some wood, another 15 for coal, and the rest of you will dismantle that steel behemoth there. Ordering people around is fun. And look at that, you can actually see them making trails in the snow and carry the stuff back. That's neat, I like that level of detail. Although they are moving a bit slow for my taste. Well, let's see. Ah, there's the fast forward button. That's way better. In under 2 days, we managed to give everybody a tent, we have a cooking house, a hunter's hut. So far, everything works out fine. I just got one question though. What do you guys even hunt out in this cold? Mostly Arctic hares, polar bears. How do you get the bears to show up? Oh, that's easy. We use live bait. I'm the bait! Is that a child? Disguised as roast beef? No. Here's where things get really interesting. Since you're establishing a new society, and given that you are the leader, you also gain the privilege to set the laws your society follows. They're all here in the Book of Laws, and whenever you decide to decree something, your people will follow it to a T. And since we try to survive under extreme conditions, the game leaves me the option to decree laws that are borderline draconic. For instance, I can decide that child labor is either absolutely necessary or absolutely horrifying, and instead promise to build a shelter where the kids are safe. The crazy thing is, the game somewhat encourages me to be a dick and go all North Korea in this bitch. Cause if I decide to go with child labor, I get a lot of additional workers, which makes the game so much easier. The only thing keeping me from being a post-apocalyptic dictator is that my people give me an earful whenever I do or decree something that dehumanizes them. Speech bubbles pop up like in your latest Facebook feed, citizens comment on my behavior, the hope meter decreases while discontent rises. And of course, for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction in the form of random events that pop up every now and then. Oh look, one of the children got stuck in a machine. Do I stop production for the day, or do I just squash the kid and move on? Now, unlike a lot of other people, I still have a conscience, and that's why I decided to make child work illegal and build a shelter, thank you very much. And guess what? People love that decision, as indicated by the rising hope bar. And what is this? There's an event on the map? Oh hey, a note of thanks from a child who didn't get smashed in some machinery. But seriously, this mechanic is one of the elements that make Frostpunk a thought-provoking game. The laws and decisions you make always revolve around one question: efficiency at the cost of humanity, or humanity that costs efficiency. But I'm telling you right now, no matter what you do, there's always a downside, and currently, I'm waiting for my decision to backfire.
Captain, there are no more resources for us to gather.
Ah, there it is. I was so busy making laws, I didn't notice that my people picked the whole area clean. This is a real problem. Without a reliable coal income, my city will fall. I need to do something to prevent this, and I think I already know the solution. Tech research. The game offers access to a number of different technologies that unlock new buildings and improve the performance of existing ones. The available technologies are divided into 4 categories, each referring to a specific aspect that is crucial for our survival. All I need to do to start researching is build a workshop and put 5 of my brightest people in there. Then I tell them what I want and they will do all the work for me. I just need to wait until they finish the blueprints for the new tech. First thing I did was investing in a sawmill. With this building we're able to process the frozen trees in our region, which brings me a lot of wood. And while we're at it, how do you feel about steelworks? I got a feeling that I will need a lot of it in the late game. Yep, looking good. All I need now is a coal mine. Okay, the coal mine is ready, but now I face another problem, and that is I have no one left to work in it since everybody's already got a job. Fortunately, there's a solution to that too. I can build a beacon, which is really just a stationary hot air balloon, but this building unlocks a new mechanic, which is integral for my survival. Once the beacon is up, I can send teams out to explore the wilderness. They will find more resources and, more importantly, other people, which I can then put into my facilities to get a steady supply of coal. Just so you know, this is the only way to grow your population, so don't neglect that part. Now, on the upside, I think I get the hang of it. I stockpiled some resources, folks don't want me dead. This isn't so hard as I thought it would. Hey, thermometer, what are you doing? No, stop! Stop! What is happening?
Captain, didn't you take a look at the weather forecast?
The what?
With all due respect, you're an idiot.
I should have kept an eye on the forecast in the upper right corner. Look, there's a timeline there which tells me how many days my city survived, but more importantly, it tells me about the weather. And yes, this is a big deal. You see, just like in real life, buildings cool off the colder it gets. And you can see exactly how dire the situation in each building is if you open the heat map, which is another tool Frostpunk provides for you. If a building is too cold, it takes on a bluish color, and people who work or live there tend to get sick. But that's not all. If you don't put these people into hospitals, they just get worse and die. And as soon as that happens, you permanently lose a viable worker. So combating cold is a no-brainer, and it's done by cranking up the generator to produce more heat. And I know it sounds easy and nice on paper, but the downside is I burn through my coal supply faster than an alcoholic who just got a bottle of whiskey. But I gotta look on the bright side here, it looks nice on the heat map, so that's a win. Oh, that's one of my scout teams. Give me some good news, please. Sir, you won't believe this. We found a city just like ours out here. Well, that's great. Put me on the line with their leader. No can do, Captain. Why? Because the leaders are dead, as is the city. Nobody's alive in here. Scout? Yes, sir. In what parallel universe is a dead city considered good news? Well, you asked for good news, so I wanted to let you down. Screw that guy. Of course the news spread like wildfire, which makes people lose hope because they think our city will be the next one to fall. Even worse, these stupid lemmings start dividing the city into 2 groups. The first one is sane and wants to stay, and the other one went complete lunatic and wants to go back to London. Some people even use this as an excuse to vandalize and damage the city. They spray paroles with negative messages on the walls, undermining the whole reason why we came here in the first place. The only way to end the civil war is by uniting these people by choosing one of 2 new rule sets which are introduced at this point. The first one is the Book of Order, and the other one is the Book of Faith, and both options equally terrify me. The Book of Order provides you with the means to transform your city into a surveillance state. You will unlock new buildings like guard stations, which honestly look like shooting towers in a prison. But I gotta say, as soon as they went up, the vandalism stopped. Another highlight of the rule set is the propaganda center, and it does exactly what it sounds like. With this building you can control media outlets and distribute letters yourself, so everybody knows that everything will be well. But the most extreme law is yet to come. You can sign the not at all ominous sounding New Order Law. It provides you with a place to hold public executions for all the dangerous elements in your city. And before you even start looking into the Book of Faith, do you think bringing the Vatican to the North Pole is so much better? Yeah, okay, it starts not as brutal. You build some churches so people have a place to keep hopes up. You arrange evening prayers so citizens get reminded that they are not alone. And then, when these sheeps feel safe, you bring out the big offenders. You install the Faith Keepers, which are your loyal servants and act as a police force in kick-ass robes. You will sign a law that gives you the honorable title of Protector of Truth. And from now on, everything you say is the law. And all this culminates in the New Faith Law, which is the same as the New Order Law. Naturally, I am against these tactics, so I used as few of these new laws as possible. And on a side note, I'm happy to tell you that you can unite your people without the use of constant brainwashing. See? Even the local news tell about my accomplishment. I enjoyed Frostpunk probably more than I should have, especially when you consider that the game is designed to make you feel somewhat miserable. Although it is not very actiony, the game still manages to bring its point across with its oppressive and multi-layered atmosphere. If you really want proof what a crapsack world Frostpunk is, then listen to its music. The soundtrack is about an hour long, but there's not one, I repeat, not one upbeat song in it. But it is a really beautiful soundtrack. It's mostly classic, with heavy cellos and sad violins, and it's almost like you feel the dread oozing from it. It's staggering, haunting, beautiful. And if you ever are in a bad mood, do yourself a favor, don't listen to it, because it'll make your mood worse. It's that powerful. Graphic-wise, the game's got something to offer too. The buildings burst with detail, complete with their own animation and an individual amount of snow on their roofs, which is dependent on how warm the building is. People really do buzz around to work or die on the spot if left untreated. Oh, and of course, everything is snow-themed. Especially the pop-up animations for random events and certain menus caught my eye multiple times. Also, I only showed you 1 out of 3 scenarios, and 11-bit Studios still promised more campaigns to come. And of course, if normal mode is too hard or too easy for you, you can switch over to your preferred setting. In short, the replay value this game has is good. But still, I think perfectionists and competitive people will have the most fun with it, since you can grade your performance on how many people you saved. But I have to admit that Frostpunk has some issues. A rather small complaint is that I take issue with how time is handled in the game. You see, whenever an important event happens, the game speed snaps from fast forward to normal, which at first seems very attentive. But on second sight, this pacing mechanism is full of little flaws. For example, can you please tell me why Frostpunk thinks that the arrival of my scouts on a node is not an important event, and instead deems it important to snap back whenever a new day starts, although nothing happened because people are simply going to work? I get the intention behind it, but it's not reliable. Also, this kind of time handling broke the immersion on a regular basis, and I really think this should be fixed. A way bigger complaint, however, is that I noticed that the campaigns themselves are pretty linear and do not provide you with anything new once you manage to complete them. The weather pattern, for example, is always the same for every campaign, which makes the game very predictable. But other than that, I think that Frostpunk blends the aspects of survival and city building very well. So if you're into weird combinations and want to try out something new, this is definitely for you. And now, if you'll excuse me, I have a speech to hold to inspire my loyal subjects even more.